Hey, here we are back again with Philly 101. This time we're digging into the geography of Philadelphia. I'm going to give you sort of a basic overview of the layout of the city, with the idea that if you are trying to investigate your options from afar, from another city, and you're trying to do this either through real estate listings or maps, to give you kind of a basic understanding of where things are to help you get your footing and learn a little bit or as much as you can about the city from where you're at. All right, let's go to the map. So here's Philadelphia outlined in red, and you can see that it is a super funky shape. So I wanted to do this because I know that it's not an easy city to sort of to sort out from a distance if you're not familiar, you've never been here, or you're just trying to get your bearings from a distance using a map or real estate listings. So here's what I want to do. I want to take you through the basics of Philadelphia. So out of the gate, we're a port city, which means we've got two major rivers. We've got the Delaware to the east, and we've got the Schuylkill to the west. So these really defined our history because we grew out from the rivers. So in the center, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, is right here. We don't have a downtown, we have Center City. And the sort of linchpin of Center City is where you can see that X, which is where City Hall is. It is the intersection of Broad Street, which runs north to south, and Market Street, which runs east to west. And that's how the streets are sort of numbered. So anything north of Market is north, and anything south is south. So it's all based on the number of blocks. So if you go one block south from Market, you're going to go to Chestnut Street, and that is the 100 block of, South 5th Street. If you go north, it is, to Arch Street, it's the 100 block, 100 North 5th Street. So that's where you can sort of get your directional bearings if you're seeing an address. Same thing with Broad Street. If you're going towards the Delaware River, it's going to be east. If you're going towards the Schuylkill and West Philly, it's west. Okay. Let's sort of clear this up. So as we sort of move around the city, I think first, if we start on the eastern edge here along the Delaware, you have a series of neighborhoods all basically up along the eastern edge called the River Wards. So these are some of the oldest neighborhoods in Philadelphia. Again, we're a port city. This is where the city grew out of. So older housing stock, maybe a little smaller, some sort of really interesting streets. Something else to sort of be aware of, 95. It is a major interstate. So if you are doing any sort of a commute, if you're looking at Philly because really you're going to be working in New Jersey or, in Delaware, or that's where your family is, and you know that you're going to be sort of traveling to these places often, it might be worth it to take a look at this section of the city, because you don't always want to spend the time moving through the city to get to the major route. And if you can sort of get closer to it now, as you're making these initial choices, it might be easier. So that's the eastern edge. You come up here to this bit up here. This is the northeast, or also known as the far northeast. It's kind of its own little world up there. Sometimes they want to secede, sometimes we want them to secede, but it's somewhat detached and, an interesting place. As you kind of come down across the top, and down you've got North Philly. And just to be clear, there are a lot of very distinct neighborhoods in here. I'm literally giving you the broad overview. We're going to go in detail more. We're going to dip into all these neighborhoods, but for right now, I just want to give you your bearings. So North Philly, kind of the maybe chewy middle, like the kind of nougat of the city. You're going to have Temple University is there. There's a lot of sort of health systems, Shriners Hospital, a lot of big entities are up that way. And again, you've got Broad Street that goes all the way up through. As you sort of move off to the right, you've got Northwest. So one of, again, the older parts of the city, you still got access to the river, but this was kind of the playground for the rich people. When the city was first being built, there was a lot of disease. It was a time that, things were a little rough, and people wanted places to get away. So things are a little more spread out. You've got a lot more tree covers. You've got all of this green is Fairmount Park. In here is sort of the Wissahickon section of that. It's sort of one of the larger inner city park systems. It's massive. This area here, you can get lost in the woods in Philadelphia, legitimately. So really pretty section, something to consider. Again, if you're thinking about a commute and why you're here, if you are looking at Philadelphia because you're actually going to be working in Plymouth Meeting or Conshohocken, you can see a little bit out there, a little King of Prussia, or sort of out, this is the main line out that way. Just like we were talking about with New Jersey and Delaware, if you're going to these places, you might want to consider sort of the western edge of the city because it's just going to give you much better access. And Conshohocken, yes, that's how you say it, has a lot of different office parks. There's a lot of corporate headquarters there. So it does bring people to the region, and a lot of people that want to live in a city but have the option of sort of working in more of a suburban setting. So if that is the case for you, it might be worth it to sort of look at some of these northwest and western neighborhoods. So let's take it back to the map. We're going to kind of take this out. All right, so we're over here in the northwest. We're going to move down and we're going to get into this section here, West Philly. So again, kind of like, it's kind of funny, kind of like the far northeast, but sort of in a very different way. It's sort of little world. Not so little, but because you've got the river here and you're crossing a bridge to get to it, it can in some ways feel a little bit separate from what's around it. So it's kind of split up into different sections, almost like the sediment of an area. So right in here, you have University City. That's where you're going to have Penn's campus, Drexel's campus. You've got Philadelphia College of Medicine, which I think is now Jefferson. Actually, I think they've combined. You've also got CHOP, their main campus, so the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. You've got major hub for Penn Health System. All of these things are sort of right in there. And then as you move out, the sort of neighborhoods kind of open up a bit. You've got some really, really beautiful section of the city down there, sort of some really older architecture, unlike the areas along the river on the east side of the city, and even on, over here, and even on the other side of the bridge, on the center city side of the Schuylkill, you've got older houses, much older, but they're smaller. They were originally sort of working class houses. Again, like we were talking about up here in this section, where people would go to sort of get away out of the grid, to get away from heat, pollution, sickness. A lot of that happened as well in these sections of West Philly. And also a big piece of that, and a really interesting part of the history, is that was one of the first trolley neighborhoods. So it gave one of the first level of public transportation access, and really sort of affected the architecture and how that part of the city developed. Again, I'm gonna geek out super hard. We're gonna talk about the first mortgages that happened in West Philly. We're going to talk about the first apartment buildings and the original like apartment blocks that are gorgeous. Back when they built really, really pretty things, even for people that didn't own them. So yeah, I think once you sort of hit West Philly, we're swinging back around to South. So hopefully that gives you kind of just a basic understanding of the layout and a place to start if you're searching from a distance. So, like I said, we're going to dig into all of these in more detail. Reach out if you have any questions. You can sort of drop me a line. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, I don't know, Pigeon, I don't know, whatever, yeah. And let me know if you have questions, and we'll be back soon. Let's go to the map. So here's Philadelphia outlined in red, and you can see that it is a super funky shape.